Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy SCGRANT here. Well, it's about that time that I pretty much finally take a look at Helluva Boss Season 2 as a whole. But before we do, you guys should know that there will be some new additions to this official video. Because originally this was going to be one big video that was going to end up being an hour long, but then I realized the fact that's because due to having other circumstances going on elsewhere, I decided to split this overall video on Helluva Boss Season 2 into two parts. The first part will cover the first 6 episodes, while the second half, or sorry to say part 2, will cover the rest. But also, I decided that for each episode I give my personal thoughts on, I'm going to put up a ranking system. And this ranking system is pretty much determined by heat levels. The higher the heat, the greater the episode. So, just be told that I never thought that I would finally do this. Because remember, the only exceptions back last year was that I finally got around to reviewing Helluva Boss' official shorts. Most notably, Hell's Bells, Antarctica, Weeaboo, and Chupacabra. Those were the 4 shorts that got released before we went back to the regular episodes. I've already done those, so check them out on the main channel. But for this occasion, each episode that I basically take a look at will eventually have its own little heat system. So depending on my own personal opinion on each episode, as I did watch all 12 of them, and I will give pretty much my personal, like that's how I put it, just personal thoughts. However, they're only getting 3 minutes each, sadly, not the usual 5. But without further ado, let's finally do this. Time to tackle Helluva Boss Season 2, and this is Act 1. Old Rules by yours truly, SCGRANT, your boy. So, let's hop on over to the very first episode that started it all. Okay, on to the first episode, which is titled called The Circus. And believe me, I did not expect the first episode of this season to actually pick up right where episode 7 of season 1 left off, as we were aware that that episode 8 of season 1 was having a bit of legal trouble before it finally saw the public light of day in 2023. So technically nearly 2 years ago when the episode, guys. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this episode. This episode is actually focused solely on Stolas, as well. We know what happened after his quote date with Blitz at Ozzy's. We know he got embarrassed enough, and pretty much Blitz just dropped him off, and they had to blow back and forth, and that was it. Just left him there, man. So the most thing about this episode to me, that it was essentially the backstory of Stolas and how he came to be, how he was able to get him the grimoire passed out from his father, Python, and the fact that even his father couldn't even know his name. Like for his birthday, he had him taken to the circus where he first encountered Blitz for the first time, and that moment, it changed everything about him, to the point that I'm like, Python went as far as that, okay, how much for Blitz, and how much in your pocket, they put out at least some condoms and at least $5 or something, okay. I'm like, really? That's just crazy, man. This is a way to start this first season. I like the only thing, the highlights of the episode, in my opinion, was the fact that the interactions between Blitz and Stolas in this one. To me, personally, this was definitely a startup to pretty much a continuation. This whole episode was a flashback, but it also ended it with pretty much, as usual, since this episode was also a comedy and musical, Stolas started singing until eventually Stella pulled up. I knew something was happening. I knew it was all an arranged marriage. Fans knew it for years. We know how Blitz got the book, since the pilot was reworked in the various episodes throughout Helluva Boss. We know this, so meaning that yes, Blitz was loaned the book this time, and the fact that him and Stolas have not seen each other in years, they're adulthood and everything. So where would I put this heat? Where would this episode's heat level be at? Well, I'm going to give it a 3 on this one. So technically, yeah, it's gonna be a 3 for me, since it's pretty much your typical average episode. But it does have its highlights. But the fact of the matter is that, to me personally, this is an episode that I will always come back to when I see little Stolas and Blitz basically having, time as kids, and even when they're adults. And pretty much Stella is still a bitch. So pretty much that's all I have to say for pretty much the circus. It's pretty much an average episode in my opinion. But that's pretty much, but let's just say that the next episode is not what I expected. So without further ado, on to the next one. just like that, we're on to the next episode, which is titled Seeing Stars. And well, I'm just gonna cut to the chase on this one. This episode has gained a heat level of 2, and I have my reasons for it. Number one, the fact is that pretty much this whole ordeal was originally thought, in my opinion, thought it was going to be the long-awaited Octavia and Luna episode, only to find out that it was essentially just a scavenger hunt to go look for Octavia, since she snuck into the IMP office to get the grimoire that was behind the safe with the obvious code that everybody knows about, and managed to say, let's go see the stars, only to find out she ended up seeing teleport to the streets of Los Angeles. That's just crazy. The most odd thing about this was that before that, she was waiting to see this meteor shower with her dad, only to find him pretty much bickering with Stella on the phone, as usual, because once again, they're both at it. Once again, this whole episode is nothing more than pretty much a comedic one, but the fact that once again, one of the highlights is pretty much Octavia and Luna's interactions at the very end. That's my only thing about it. Everything else is just nothing but comedy, even to the point that there's even in-universe character on Earth that is a reference to the actor Brandon Rogers, who plays Blitz. There's literally an actor like Brandon Rogers parodied himself. Like I say, it's all fun and dandy, but you're talking about pretty much what happened in the very last episode, and even at Ozzy's, bro. And now you got Blitz and Stoic bantering back and forth like nothing happened after that night. Are you serious right now? And the fact is that once again, most people came to this episode knowing we were finally going to get the long-awaited Octavia and Luna episode, but that was not the case. It was nothing more than gags. And the less I can say about what Moxie and Millie were up to in this episode, the better, man. Because, oh my god, man. So yeah, rank, or should I say heat, level 2 is pretty much, in my opinion, how I would stamp this, how I view this episode. It's a heat level 2. So you can watch this episode, but just be in mind, you're not gonna get what you're basically pretty much hoping for. Like, you're not gonna get what you came for. Nowadays, I'm hoping that for pretty much future episodes, or even Helluva Boss shorts, we might be able to get the longer-awaited Luna Octavia moment. Just them two have their own short, or their own, or pretty much spotlight in the series, because we're only down to 30 episodes left before Helluva Boss is concluded as a series on YouTube as a whole, from pretty much Fizzy Pop and Sprinter Horse as a whole. So yeah, heat level 2, definitely, in my opinion. So without further ado, let us jump into what I consider a way to get things really rolling with Helluva Boss around here, everyone. And well, we have finally made it to the very first episode with a heat level of 4. This is X's and O's, pretty much the Moxie episode that contains his backstory. So let me give you my personal highlights about this episode. We do know that Moxie grew up in a mob family, and we know we were finally introduced to his dad, Crimson. Back in the pilot, both his parents were dead, but in the canonical timeline, Crimson's very much alive and runs his own mob business, which has been pretty much down the dumps lately in terms of funding, and the fact that Moxie still has a stake in the family business, even though he left to go become an IMP official. But the most tragic part about this was the fact that if you looked into his family portrait, we know his mom was from the Wrath Ring. And the fact that explains Moxie's freckles on his face, that are from his mama, since he is pretty much a mama's boy. He knew that his mom shared some help. He even tried to cut his own steak. He had a hard time cutting his own steak, only for his mama to do it for him. He was more of a mama's boy than rather be a mobster. Hell, his own father even called his lifestyle sissy. I'm like, are you serious, man? Moxie had one hell of a life growing up in the mob family. It wasn't until a shark by the name of Chad, who Moxie slept with, and so was Millie, that it may explain why she was angry and 12 that cut out at the beginning of the episode. They both had a run-in with Chad at one point in their lives. And most of all, the fact is that Moxie did come to terms, he had to come to terms, man, because he never thought his father would call him back after all this time, because Chad left them during a bank robbery, man. But the biggest thing that made this episode, in my opinion, get the heat level of 4 was the shotgun wedding. You guys know Millie went beast when Moxie was going to be forced to marry this cheapskate, because turns out, from Blitz's perspective, that he too slept with him, that the guy rented one of the jackets. He is cheap. this guy was broke, and it was obvious like that it was not gonna be going down lightly, man. So once Millie found that Moxie was gonna be forced to marry Chad, nope, Millie stepped in, goes beast mode, and wiped out all of Crimson's gang as a whole. Millie takes no prisoners, and this is why Millie was one of my favorite characters in all of Helluva Boss. She takes no prisoners. She may look like a pretty little thing, but nope. When it comes to when Moxie's in danger, Millie's how you say, waifu instincts start kicking in and started whooping ass, man, and like nobody survived that shit. Even the priest out there was like, nope, I'm out. Yeah, it was so funny, man. And guess what? The best line out of Millie to when he smacks Moxie's ass was, "This ass is mine." And guess what? She wasn't lying and grabbed Brits and left offense. Oh, whatever happened to Chad? Well, Crimson found out he was broke, so he made sure to take care of him. And that's all I have to say for the X's and O's. And well, here we are. We got another heavy hitter that's definitely deserving of a heat level of 4. And thus the title of the overall of the episode 4, Western Editing. This screams, yep, we're finally hitting it big, man. We're finally got another heavy hitter on our hands, bros. Probably said that twice. But yeah, this episode marks the debut of Drill Fist, Stella's brother, and it turns out that after, let's run off with the grimoire and the whole thing, yeah, Stolas were divorced. Stolas even knew that once again, like I said, Stella didn't care about their arranged marriage once again in overall. But guess what? Stella was one step ahead of him. And turns out, Stryker, once again, if you saw from episode 5 of season 1, we know that Stella hired Stryker to take out Stolas. And once again, it's shown on full display. And instead of clocking him, he managed to use angelic rook and tied him up and captured him. Stolas tried to contact Blitz, but Blitz had to go deal with his own certain plot of giving his Luna a Helvi shot. Well, guess what? Moxie and Millie stepped into the fray and tell him that, wait, that's Stryker, because they told him like, wait, who's your cowboy friend? I'm like, oh, that's Stryker, certainly. So yeah, what's the best part about this highlight? Well, what's one of my highlights of this episode? Well, the episode speaks for itself. This was the get back that Moxie and Millie needed after what happened back at the farm and the Harvest Moon Festival. It was time. The fight sequences was god level. I can't believe it that they probably got the same animators and team who worked on the 2 Secrets fight sequences to come back for this one, man. Because once again, Moxie and Millie was getting their get back, and they did get their get back, but it ended in a draw because the objective was to save Stolas because, angelic weapons do hurt higher level demons, and they had to do it while Blitz was helping on the camera side. So once again, originally it was Stolas who asked Blitz to come get him, but no, it was Moxie and Millie who had to do the job, and also get back at Stryker. So once the battle was over, Moxie and Millie knew that Stolas was wounded and had to get him to the hospital, and realizes that pretty much all the commotion and witch doctors and all that. Blitz asked Millie what was it all about, and it turns out Stolas got hurt bad in the fight. And yes, Blitz, even higher level demons can get hurt with angelic weapons. He did not know this until it was too late. And even tried to text him only for Blitz to do his usual gig of, yeah, things have not been easy. Like I said, I gave this episode a heat level of 4. It definitely showed the highlights, and even, once again, from the comedy musicals, man, they got some nice bangers in this one. I'm just hoping that we might get another banger next one. Maybe we can get another heat level 4, maybe heat level 5, maybe in this episode, in the next one. So let's just hop on over to the very next episode. I can't wait. And all that excitement has pretty much died off just instantly. Well, this episode has dropped the heat level down to 2. Yes, I said 2, and I got my reasons for it. Well, let me give you the highlights of this episode. And this one is definitely on Millie. Millie owned this episode, in my opinion. I only watched this episode because Millie just rocked it. The new outfit, the disguise and everything. All the fun she had with the campers, bro. This was definitely a highlight of the episode. But let's give it the drawbacks. The major drawback was Moxie. The fact that he was given the lead on a job for the first time. I'm like, this won't end well, and I was right. This episode felt like it went to be for something else. Like I said, it's on Earth. We got another job. A client says that someone drowned them, and for no reason, when it had to be one of the counselors, and it turns out one of the counselors did drown them because the drugs were found out. And where did those drugs come from? None other than Blitz's long lost sister, Barbie Wire. Barbie Wire was actually teased before this episode came out that she was gonna be of importance. Only to find out, as you can judge from how I gave this episode a heat level of 2, that it felt as though it was like a bucket list, like a checklist of seeing what plot can they plant the seeds in before eventually further expanding into future episodes in the series. So yes, my highlights was definitely Millie's best moments, but everything else and the fact that Moxie finally made up for it. But once again, the music of Mumbo more than made up for it, but it cannot deny that once again, it's like Moxie just complicates things, like make it way too complex when Millie already spotted the target from afar. Like the episode could have ended in a matter of minutes, but Moxie dragged it out. I mean, another highlight is Moxie. Like, it's pretty much Moxie Millie's disguises. Like, we know Moxie's bisexual, and he cross-dresses too, as is shown in previous episodes. But to me personally, this was an episode just like Seeing Stars that I only watched for the best moments. That's it. Because once again, I have nothing against pretty much the comedy in this episode. It's just that because we just came off 2 heavy hitters and we left with another case of pretty much your standard episode. It's just that it's a standard, man. Like, there's nothing added in other than that we finally got to go back to Earth for another assassin job. And the fact that Blitz's sister Barbie just felt like she just came and went. But we do know we might see her again later in a future episode. But who knows? So, like I said before, this episode has been dropped down to a heat level of 2. Just in my opinion. That's all I have to say. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the pretty much of this video, most likely Act 1 Old Wounds, where we are finally here with Episode 6 Oops, and I can tell you right now, this heat level has jumped up to 4. That's right. This episode gets a heat level 4 because it got everything and it led up to this moment. Not only is Blitz and Fist got captured pretty much by Stryker and Crimson of all people, but the fact of the matter is that pretty much him and Ozzy are definitely in a relationship, a more healthy relationship than what Blitz and Stoll have to deal with, and it's all genuine. But when pretty much everything's all on the line at this point. Once again, because since Fizz is pretty much a celebrity status in the 7 Rings of Hell, we knew there will be some shady figures coming after them. And what better way to bring in is with 2 people that both want Blitz and Moxie dead, but mostly Moxie. Okay, at this point, because once again, Blitz has got caught in the crossfires. Well, both of them got caught in the crossfires because, well, Moxie's dad is still butthurt after the whole, shotgun wedding thing in episode 3. So he needed a quick score, and yeah, let's just say he wanted to bargain with the king of lust, one of the 7 deadly sins, Ozzy, who tried to say, "You're gonna give me all your assets, or yeah, your little imp puppet, your little imp toy, and he's gonna end up getting what's coming to him." So once again, one of the best highlights ever, man, because the whole point of this is to establish both Blitz and Fizz's relationship, as once again they were teenagers in the past. It led to an accident, and thus they drifted apart. And it was this episode that brought them back together. It was all a miscommunication. But to me personally, I highly recommend you, the viewer, go check out Helluva Boss Season 2, Episode 6 Oops, because this definitely deserves a heat level of 4, because the stakes have never been raised. And I'm hoping that with this episode, it shows that a lot of things can cram into one episode. Like I said, there were many elements from past episodes that are all falling into one place here. And it had to do with the fact that Fizzarati was pretty much heavily mentioned in episode 2 of season 1. It was briefly in episode 6, and finally introduction in episode 7 of season 1, only to finally come back to this episode. And let's just say, this is not the only time. Once again, definitely a highly recommended episode. Because once again, definitely a personal favorite of mine, and I'm hoping that I can basically tackle the very next episode, which can be considered a heat level 4. Because once again, the stakes have never been higher. And that's all I'll say about this episode. Oops. And with that, we come to the end of Act 1, Old Wounds. So let me give you a quick rundown. Pretty much the Circus gets a heat level of 3, Seeing Stars gets a heat level of 2, Exos gets a heat level of 4, Western Energy gets a heat level of 4, and Unhappy Campus gets dropped back down to heat level 2. But basically, episode 6, Oops, is pretty much climbed back up to heat level 4. So yeah, that's pretty much the overall score so far with Helluva Boss Season 2, and when I thought about the first 6 episodes each. But without further ado, I will see you in all in Part 2, where we tackle the rest of the season, because boy, there's a lot to cover. Anyway, see you all in Act 2.